the great house at Collinwood in the year 1840, a time when the evil planning of one man threatens to destroy the Collins family forever. Quentin Collins is on trial as a warlock, and among those anxious to see him found guilty is Lamar Trask. On this day, Trask has been called to testify, and his testimony has proved damaging. Quentin's first attorney, Desmond Collins, has been disqualified and jailed on the charge of witchcraft, and it now appears that Quentin must act in his own defense. But as the prosecution ends its examination of Trask, Quentin has a surprise in store for the court.
Thank you, Mr. Trask. Your witness.
Mr. Collins, would you care to cross-examine the witness?
Why, yes, Your Honor. But I do think it would be to my advantage if the cross-examination were conducted by my counsel.
I was under the impression, Mr. Collins, that you were unable to find counsel.
Then I gave the court the wrong impression, Your Honor. In that case, I apologize. I did find a man who will handle my case. However, this person was not able to be with me when the court convened. And as it is extremely important concerning the cross-examination of Mr. Trask, I ask that the court consider a brief recess while we await the arrival of my new counsel.
Objection, Your Honor. It is obvious that this man is up to some form of trickery that can cause no good to any of us.
Your Honor, I assure you there is no trickery on my part. I am on trial for my life, Your Honor. I do think it is important for me to have an attorney who is competent and reliable. And I urge the court to please consider a brief recess while we await the arrival of this man.
That won't be necessary, Quentin. I'm here.
Your Honor, may I present my new attorney, Mr. Barnabas Collins.
Objection, Your Honor. Why, this is absurd. This man cannot act as defense for the counsel. He's not even a qualified attorney.
May I point out to the court that I have made a careful study of the law under which this trial is being conducted, and it clearly states that a qualified attorney is not necessary. Any citizen may volunteer his services.
That is correct.
And I so volunteer mine.
Are you prepared to cross-examine the witness?
May I ask for a transcript of the witness' testimony for the prosecution?
Yes, by all means, Mr. Collins.
Please, the court, Your Honor, I cannot continue my testimony.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Trask.
Is something the matter, Mr. Trask?
Yes, I'm not well. I have a severe pain in my chest. I think I should consult a doctor.
Your Honor, in view of the witness' condition, I urge that you release him from further testimony.
Is counsel asking that the witness not be cross-examined?
I think it is obvious that Mr. Trask is a very sick man, Mr. Collins.
No. The defense must be given the right of cross-examination, Mr. Dawson. The question is when.
Actually, Your Honor, the defense would welcome a brief postponement in order to more fully acquaint itself with the case.
That request is granted. The court is adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Your Honor, that may not be enough time for my witness.
I am assuming, Mr. Dawson, that he will see a doctor between now and then. If his condition becomes more serious, we can discuss that when court convenes tomorrow.
Barnabas. Believe me, I don't understand. I got the note from Bowery saying that you had returned. Returned from where?
Lamar Trask had me under under prisoner. I didn't think I was going to get out, but finally Valerie and Julia found out where I was.
Trask held you prisoner.
Yes. He forced me at gunpoint into an alcove in the basement of his chapel. And he bricked up the alcove and left me there to die.
Well, why didn't you tell the judge what he had done?
I chose not to. The fact is, Quentin, that I had no intention of turning Trask over to the authorities.
You're telling me after Trask what he did to you, you're willing to let him free?
For the moment, yes.
In heaven's name, why?
Quentin, you are under trial for your life. Now, that is the important consideration for us right now. I can tell you that Trask has an act of revenge.
Revenge for what?
The death of his father.
Barnabas, I don't understand.
I must ask you to trust me. In time, I will tell you everything. But right now, I want to concentrate on the trial.
All right. I've always respected your judgment.
I've read the transcript of Trask's testimony for the prosecution. If it stands, then you are going to have a disaster. Now, I want you and I, right now, to go over this in detail and find out how it can be broken down tomorrow. Evening, Mr. Trask.
Get away from here. Leave me alone.
Aren't you wondering how I got out of your cellar prison?
No, I don't have to wonder. I know how you got out. It was with Quentin's help. You and he have always been in league with one another. He used his sorcery to free you. I know Satan's work when I see it. You should be dead now.
Maybe I am dead.
What? What are you saying?
Consider the possibility, Mr. Trask. You put me down in that basement to die. Perhaps I did die, and I've come back to haunt you for the rest of your days and nights.
No, it's not possible. I don't believe it.
By your simple way of thinking, anything is possible.
Get out of my sight. Get away from me.
I have no intentions of staying long, Mr. Trask. Just long enough to tell you that I have every intention of doing something for you in revenge for what you've done to me, but not now. I will let you wait and wonder and suffer, knowing your time is coming, but not quite knowing when. I'll see you tomorrow in court, Mr. Trask.
Well, Trask, what is wrong? Mr. Trask, you sent me a message asking me to be here early. Now, please speak up. What is on your mind?
I won't appear on the witness stand again this morning.
Are you insane? Your testimony is vital to our case.
I've given my testimony. I refuse to be questioned by Barnabas Collins.
But you can't refuse. If you do, your entire testimony for our side will be stricken from the records. Is that what you want?
I only know that I will not be questioned by him.
Why not?
I have my reasons.
Yes, which were very well demonstrated yesterday when you pretended to be sick on the witness stand. Now, what is it that's wrong? Tell me what it is you're so frightened of.
I can tell you no more.
Now, you listen to me. You are going to face Barnabas Collins, whether you like it or not. Now, you started all this, Trask. You're the cause for all this hue and cry about witchcraft. If you desert us now, the entire prosecution's case is destroyed.
Flora, I'm sorry to disturb you so early, but I want to find out everything I can before the trial resumes.
Oh, Barnabas, you're not disturbing me in the least. I'm just so relieved you're all right. Whatever did happen to you, we've all been so worried.
Well, I had to leave town unexpectedly. I didn't even have time to tell Julia and Valerie.
Oh, so much has happened since you've been gone. You know they arrested Desmond for witchcraft on the most ridiculous evidence. They produced the journal of Judah Zachary, that man who was beheaded for witchcraft. Imagine a head in 1692. It was here, in this house. I knew it was evil.
Yes.
And they say it's possessed Desmond.
Yes, I have read the transcript of the trial, and I know all about Desmond. And I'm here as much to help him as to help Quentin.
Oh, Barnabas, can you free my son? I am so worried I can't think clearly.
Flora, Desmond was implicated in this trial because of his association with Quentin. Now, if we can prove Quentin's innocence, we can prove Desmond's innocence. The authorities will be forced to release him, you understand.
Yes, now what can I do to help?
By answering some questions.
Of course.
Now, I want you to think back to the time when Desmond returned with the severed head of Judah Zachary. Now, did he actually tell you that he brought it back for Quentin?
Yes, I'm afraid he did.
Now, but before he could ever give it to Quentin, the head disappeared, didn't it?
As far as I know.
Now, I want you to think clearly, Flora. Who besides you and Desmond in this house definitely saw the head?
Well, Letitia testified that she saw it, which is the first I knew about it.
So, in other words, that someone else could have seen the head also.
What do you mean?
Gerard. Gerard could have known about that head and also not wanted to tell anyone.
Barnabas, are you implying that Gerard is somehow secretly involved in all this?
Yes, I have every reason to believe he is, but I can't prove it. Now, what about Trask? How did he and Gerard become such good friends?
I really don't know.
But when Gerard was living here, Trask made several visits to him, didn't he?
Yes. Well, I suppose they really became good friends the night that they were discussing Lamar's father's disappearance. Yes. That was quite an eventful night for both of them.
Eventful? How?
Well, Gerard has certain psychic abilities, you know, and he demonstrated them for Lamar, who was very impressed.
Flora, I want you to tell me everything about that night in as much detail as possible.
Court will now come to order. Mr. Dawson, the court will listen to a motion for postponement in case your witness is still unable to testify.
The witness had been to a doctor, Your Honor, and he's been pronounced physically fit to testify.
Mr. Collins, you may cross-examine. Mr. Trask, you will return to the stand, please.
Mr. Trask, in your testimony yesterday, you stated that the defendant frequently indulged himself in matters of the occult. Is that true?
Yes.
And in your opinion, is active participation in the occult tantamount to dealing with witchcraft?
I believe that a person who deals in the occult can easily be led into the practice of witchcraft, yes.
Then you would have to include yourself now, wouldn't you?
I beg your pardon.
I object, Your Honor.
Mr. Collins, I must ask you to clarify your line of questioning.
Mr. Trask, it has been established previously in this trial that raising a spirit from the dead, as in a seance, is admitting a seance experience. Now, I want you to tell the court, did you or did you not participate in a seance? The purpose of which, by your own admission at the time, was to communicate with your dead father. Mr. Trask, the court is waiting for your answer. Did you or did you not take part in such a seance?
He's trying to brand me a witch.
The witness is right, Your Honor. The counsel's line of questioning is irrelevant.
On the contrary. I submit it is very relevant, and I insist upon the question being answered.
The witness is directed to answer the question.
Yes.
Yes, you did participate in the seance. You were trying to establish communication with the dead. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Were you successful?
We heard my father's voice, warning us of the evil around us.
So, Mr. Trask, you did take part in the seance and you communicated with the dead. Does that mean that you are or could be a witch?
Objection!
The defense is merely asking a question, not making an accusation.
Objection overruled. The witness will answer.
No, it does not mean I am a witch.
Of course it doesn't. Any more than the same experience would mean that the defendant is a witch. Now I ask the court to wipe out all references to seances, the occult, and witchcraft.
All such references will be stricken from the record. You may continue, Mr. Collins.
I have no further questions at this time.
I should like to re-examine the witness, Your Honor.
Proceed.
For the record, Your Honor, the prosecution has never contended that a seance in and of itself constitutes an act of witchcraft. However, I hope that the court would agree that a means other than a seance to summon the dead does constitute an act of witchcraft.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to be a little more explicit, Counselor.
I intend to, Your Honor. Mr. Trask, do you know of an example of Quentin Collins' strange powers over the dead?
Objection! Overruled. The witness may answer if he knows of such an incident.
Yes, I do indeed. I was witness to such an incident.
Will you describe that incident to the court, please?
Yes, it happened one night last week while this very trial was in progress. Quentin Collins wrote a letter to the spirit of a dead woman named Joanna Mills. It was delivered to a designated spot in the woods by Daphne Herridge. It was left in an oak tree for the spirit to find and answer. I saw the spirit appear and leave a written response.
And what was your reaction, Mr. Trask?
I waited until the spirit had gone, and I took the letter that the spirit left in the tree.
Is this the letter you saw the spirit deliver, Mr. Trask?
Objection. Whatever letter counsel has there could have been written by anyone.
Objection overruled. The witness will examine the letter.
Yes, this is it.
Thank you, Mr. Trask. You may be seated. Your Honor, at this point, I should like to admit this sketch of a young woman. Her name is Joanna Mills. Actually, it is a self-portrait made while the woman was an inmate in an asylum. The sketch is signed, and I believe you will find that the signature corresponds with the signature on the letter that Mr. Trask has just identified. Now, there can be no doubt, Your Honors, that the sketch and the letter were created by the same hand, the hand of Joanna Mills. I now would like to submit this certified document, a death certificate for Joanna Mills.
I object to the introduction of this letter. No one saw Joanna Mills write it. It could have been written before she died.
Mr. Collins, Mr. Trask has just testified under oath that he saw the spirit deliver the letter.
Does he know he saw a spirit?
Gentlemen, I think it is pointless for you to keep on arguing any further about this matter. The court believes that the prosecution has made its point.
Then, Your Honor, I submit that the prosecution has also proved its case. The ability to rouse the dead can only be attributed to the practice of witchcraft. I therefore move that the tribunal hand down a verdict in favor of the prosecution.
The court is willing to consider such a motion.
But the court cannot do it in good conscience. when the defense hasn't even presented its case yet?
I must ask you to sit down, Mr. Collins, and to abide by whatever this tribunal decides.
Barnabas, it's all right. Don't worry. I'm just surprised that Dawson hadn't introduced the letter earlier than he did.
He can't possibly grant the motion.
Believe me, I've been here longer than you have. They can do anything they please.
They're ready.
The tribunal has considered the prosecutor's motion very carefully and is ready to render a decision. It is the opinion of all three judges here present that the prosecution... May I ask the reason for this interruption?
I have come to offer testimony in this trial. My name is Joanna Mills.